switch flipped and all the businesses closed. And America is like, what? We work, we fight every day, tooth and nail. We're opening up our businesses, all this stuff. Things were going really good, right? If you look at the surface, I'm not talking about, our sweet homeless. I'm not talking about the poor. I'm just talking about the grand scheme of things. And so now we've got unemployment. We've got people closing their businesses. And then, Sage, for the love of God, then we get this I was thinking, I don't know how else to say it. I want history to quit repeating itself, or is it good that history repeats itself? Because now we're dealing with not just one more death that was caused unjustified by the police to a poor black man. Now we've got total unrest. Nobody, yeah. I mean, it's insane. So if you look at us like a family, what the hell? I mean, we all go to counseling. I don't even know where to begin with this because it's so upset. It's so upset. And so I'm looking for, we've got family members not getting along because they disagree, present company included. I don't even, it isn't even a disagreement. It's more like, just hear my side and consider that.
Yes.
That a lot of that is not happening.
Well, you see, Beverly, and I don't know your position, but as you've been kind of setting it up, I'm imagining we have differences of opinion, which I'm very excited to talk about. But this is fundamentally important. So on Facebook, we don't talk with each other. We just talk at each other. Mm-hmm. And it just gets louder and more abusive. And then I get caught up in it. And then I like to get sarcastic and strangely humorous. And so we all become like, look, Facebook is a bucket. It is a 50-gallon drum of shit and piss and vomit, and we're all in it, squishing around in all of that bullshit, trying to look for something that is worthwhile. It's a terrible place. Facebook is a terrible, terrible place, and it is bringing out the worst in us. So, like, as for example, I streamed these protests.
Yeah.
I streamed the Saturday protest,
mm-hmm.
and it was amazing because the energy on Facebook was wildly different than the energy at the actual protest.
Right.
The energy at the protest was love and unity. It felt like I was on a parade, a 6-mile parade through Akron. And as I'm watching the comments, all I see is hatred and disdain and disgusting racism. And like, it's not real.
Yeah.
Facebook is not real. But this is where we think we have community now because of coronavirus. This is where we turn, and it creates this vile shit pool. It's disgusting.
Well,
and so we need more conversations together, Beverly. That's what I'm getting at.
100%. And before we get into that, and I'm going to share where I am with this so that you and I can have a conversation.
I love it.
You think about this. When I was growing up, unfortunately, we still had riots about the same thing. We had, who can forget Kent State? No one. We still had unruly things happening that way. I had the Vietnam War. What was going on there was that, all that came from that. So I was really young. So I was 9, 10, and just trying to absorb it. And I remember being in the car, and this is the difference from what we have now. I was in the car with my dad, and there was a news station. So you had, let's say you had WSLR, which was country. Well, then they had news on that music station, or WHLO. These were all the different stations that we listened to. That newscast was it. And I remember sitting in the, you didn't have all these resources to go to. Well, let me see what's going on. Well, let me see what's going on. My dad, I was in the back seat of the car, and I will never forget it. And that guy came on, and he said, he had kind of like a Kermit voice, and he said, he said this, Saigon, just like that. And I said to my dad, what is Saigon? And he held his hand up, and you knew that meant shut up. You just knew that was just like, because he couldn't get into a conversation with me because that would be it. So they're reporting from Saigon, what was going on there. And the other news source was 3 pissy-ass stations and that you got to choose from, but it was called whatever, the 6 o'clock, the 11 o'clock news. And you had to wait. You had to wait unless something else major came on. Then the other one was print. And it was the Akron Beacon Journal. I think it's so funny you mentioned that. So newspaper, stations, scheduled times, that's how you got your news source. Guess what you did not get to do? You didn't get to talk back. If you got into a radio station to call in, and we used to try all the time to request songs, it was a huge deal. It was so big. So there was you were getting news reported to you, and you didn't get to have any feedback. But my aunt and uncle would come over on Saturday morning. My mom and dad would sit at the table, and they would discuss. And, by the way, they disagreed. But they would have their coffee, they would smoke their cigarettes, and we would run around as kids or whatever. But they were conversations. Now, moving forward from that, you're talking about Facebook, and, I'm as bad as you. I'm on Facebook, even though I can't figure out if it's the death of us or the best of us, because a lot of good comes from that, because you yourself are making people aware of things. So it's an awareness. Now, following that, and it's one of the things that I get overwhelmed with, is the hatred that you're talking about, the I'm right and I'll say whatever I want kind of mentality. And so what's happening is news sources, good, bad, or indifferent, it's a constant funnel. I remember when CNN came out, and it was 24-hour news, and I was married at the time, and my ex-husband and I are like, what is this? We just thought it was the coolest thing. And when we got married, it was the Contra affairs. And so we're literally on our honeymoon, and we would turn on the TV while we're getting ready for dinner or something. It was insanity. So you've got 24-hour news source. You've got people who can say whatever they want, share whatever they want without any management. Nobody's managing the kids. Nobody's managing the family. And I'm not talking about Trump or the president has a responsibility to manage social media platforms. But what's happening is there is, instead of, because the second we all saw that video, all of us were together. Oh, I'm just going to try not and cry. All of us were thinking the same thing, that is the worst thing. I have never witnessed a murder, ever. And I've watched a lot of, television and movies staged, but I've never witnessed a murder. And all of us felt the same. And I liken it to the seconds and the moments on 9/11. As a country, when that happened, we were together. When that happened, there wasn't racism. Everybody was in the streets shoveling up dust. Firefighters, everybody was in it. There wasn't, for those moments, it went away. And then following that, and is we have this thing where his death is getting clouded by violence. So his death didn't cause the violence, but maybe it was an excuse for it. But the fallout from that, and I promise you're getting a turn, the fallout from that, Sage, is these business owners. And they just were coming up for air, if you will, from the coronavirus. They just were able to open. The timing is unreal. I can't help but feel so much passion for let's get this right. with, and I don't know where we begin. Do we make a list of demands on police reform and police brutality? Let's get this right. But we also have to take care of these families that their business is gone. Everybody says, oh, they have insurance. Oh, it's a broken window. Wait, I just went broke since March pretend I have a bakery or whatever it is, and I finally get to open up and sell bread again.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I'm in not argument, but where I come to pass.
Right.
And look, they both matter to me, and I can't help it, and I'm getting in trouble for that.
Sure.
Big trouble.
And yes. So you are absolutely right that everything you are saying, and you see, this is the interesting thing, is on Facebook in particular, but I think by human nature, we have a very difficult time of understanding the other side's perspective.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, there were the protests by, you know, in Michigan in particular about this very topic, that people were getting together saying, you know, we have a right to have our businesses open. The laws that have been passed down are arbitrary. One big business gets to stay open, but my small business that sells the same stuff is closed. And so, but the people that, you know, everything gets politicized in this culture. And one of the things I like about homelessness is, at the moment and up until now, it has been fairly unpoliticized. You either hate the homeless or you know, you decide personally how you feel about the homeless. It's not Barack Obama telling you how to feel about the homeless, Donald Trump telling you how to feel about the homeless. They don't really care about the homeless. And so you get this really nice organic feel about homelessness. Do I hate the homeless? Do I like the homeless? Am I upset about the homeless? Do I not care about the homeless? And you have to decide. It's like going to an art museum. You know, Donald Trump isn't telling you how to feel about modern art, so you are stuck there to make your own decision. And so homelessness has that nice, that kind of feel to it. I don't think it will always be that way, but I do think that it is still that way. And it has been wonderful because I've gotten to work with people of all races and genders and classes and political persuasions. Been awesome. But these issues, these two particular issues, divide down party lines. And I blame the politicians. If there's anyone I hate most, it's a politician.
Yeah.
They are lying sacks of shit. And they are all out for their own personal gain, and they will kill you for it. They will kill you. I just posted, and I hope this isn't divisive, but because I don't think anybody actually cares about Nixon anymore, but I posted a quote about Nixon and the Kent State massacre, and he said he's talking about Nixon suggesting shooting prisoners at the New York's Attica prison riot in reference to the Kent State tragedy, and he says this. He says, you know what stops them? Kill a few, Nixon said on tape. Remember Kent State? Didn't it have a hell of an effect? So that's what a politician is.
Yeah.
Kill a few, because it'll have a hell of an effect. And so fuck them. They are the worst. They are the ones creating this dissent. It is not me and you, Beverly. We are just the people. I don't know, I'm assuming maybe you lean more conservative, I'm leaning a little more liberal, and so we both fall, and we're outspoken and impassioned, and we then end up falling on our either side, and you're like, and now it's me against Beverly, or, you know, obviously it's not, but that's the feeling, that you're like, oh, you like CNN, oh, well, you like Fox News, well, we can't be friends, block. And that's how it is.
Well, it's true.
And it's not us. It's the fucking politicians.